You are 31. You are standing in a church you have never entered before, in a suit you did not pay for marrying a woman you met in a bookstore. Her name is Elena. 14 months ago, she laughed at something you said about the price of hardcover fiction. You have thought about that laugh every day since there are 312 people in this church. You invited 9. Her father shakes your hand at the door. His grip is dry and unhurried. He holds it 2 seconds longer than a handshake needs. He says he is happy. His face does not move when he says it. The reception is in a hall with gold chairs and a band that only plays songs older than you. Men come to your table in pairs. They congratulate you. They do not tell you their names. They tell you they know Elena since she was small. They put a hand on your shoulder when they say it. You count 17 envelopes pressed into your jacket pocket before you stop counting. Nobody writes a card. Nobody signs anything. At 11 o'clock, your new father-in-law asks you to step outside. The parking lot smells like rain on hot asphalt and cigarette smoke. He does not smoke. He holds the cigarette for someone else. He asks what you do. You tell him you are an accountant. Small firm. 12 people, mostly restaurant clients. He nods for a long time. He says that is a good job. He says an honest job. He says it the way another man would say a foreign word he has heard but never used. Then he tells you that you are family now. He says the word family slowly, like it costs something. You go back inside. Elena is dancing with her uncle. She is laughing again, that same laugh. In the car at 2 in the morning, she falls asleep on your shoulder. You drive with one hand. The envelopes are still in your jacket. You do not open them. You tell yourself you married a woman, not a family. Everybody tells themselves that. Level 2. Level 2. The Sunday table. Sunday dinner is not an invitation. You learn this in the first month. The house is in the old part of town. Green awning. Plastic on the good furniture. A kitchen that has been too small for this family for 40 years and will never be renovated. You arrive at 1. You leave at 7. That is the rule, and nobody says the rule out loud. There are seats at the table, and the seats do not change. Her father at the head. Her uncle, Vito, on his right. Her brother, Nico, on the left. Then the cousins. Then the wives. Then you are given the chair nearest the door. The first thing you notice is the volume. This family shouts about football, about the sauce, about a cousin who bought a car he cannot afford. They shout about everything. The second thing you notice is what happens when they stop. A man comes to the back door at 4 o'clock. He does not come in. Her father goes out. The kitchen keeps talking. The volume stays exactly the same, and that is how you know that everyone is listening. Her father comes back in 11 minutes. He sits down. He picks up his fork. He says, "Pass the bread." Nobody asks who that was. Not the wives. Not the brother. Not Elena. You ask in the car on the drive home. Elena looks out the window for a while. She says you do not ask that. She does not say it angrily. She says it the way you would explain a step in a recipe. Then she takes your hand and she says she loves you, and she means it completely, and both things are true at the same time. And you do not know yet what to do with that. By the 3rd month, you know, things without being told. You know, Nico is a problem. You know, Vito is the one who decides. You know that when a name is said in Italian instead of English, the person is dead or about to have a very bad year. By the 6th month, you have stopped noticing that you know these things. That is how it starts. Not with a gun, with a chair by the door and a fork picked back up. Level 3. Level 3. The first favor. It is November. You are in your office at 7 in the evening alone, and Nico is standing in the doorway holding a shoebox. He is 26. He is wearing a coat that cost more than your car. He calls you brother, which he has never done before. He says he has a problem with his taxes. He says his guy is an idiot. He says you are family, and family looks at family's paperwork. The shoebox contains receipts from a laundromat that you know for certain does very little laundry. You look at them for an hour after he leaves. It takes you 11 minutes to see it. It takes you 49 more to decide what to do about it. What you do is this. You reorganize the numbers. You do not create anything. You do not sign anything. You simply arrange what exists into a shape that will not attract attention. It is the smallest thing. It is a Tuesday. You are home by 9, and Elena makes eggs, and you watch half a film and fall asleep. 3 weeks later, there is an envelope in your coat pocket. You did not put it there. It has $4,000 in it. You keep it in a drawer for 9 days. On the 10th day, Elena mentions that the boiler is going to fail before spring. You spend it on the boiler. That is the part Nobo. Di warns you about it does not go on a car. It goes on a boiler. It goes on your wife being warm. It goes into your actual life until you cannot separate the money from the life, and there is nothing left to give back. At the next Sunday dinner, her father does not mention it. He does not thank you. He does not look at you differently. He moves you one chair away from the door. Level 4, level 4, the bookkeeper. You stop working for the firm in March. You tell your partner you are going independent. He is genuinely happy for you. He buys you lunch and he says, "You always had the head for it." Your new office is above a bakery. You are there at 7 every morning, and the whole building smells like warm bread and yeast, and for the rest of your life, that smell will make your chest tighten. You have 6 clients. On paper, they are a vending machine company, 2 restaurants, a construction supplier, a car wash, and a funeral home. On paper, the work is not exciting. This is what surprises you most. It is spreadsheets. It is invoices. It is a man named Sal who cannot understand why he needs a receipt for anything ever, and who calls you at 11 at night to argue about it. You are good at it. You are better at it than anyone they have used before. And they notice. And being noticed feels the way it felt when you were 24, and your boss said your name in a meeting. That is the trap. Not money competence. Being the only one in the room who understands the thing. You buy a house in June. 4 bedrooms. Elena cries in the empty living room. Her father comes to see it. He walks every room without speaking. In the kitchen, he opens a cabinet, looks inside at nothing, and closes it. He says, "You did this." You say, "We did." He says, "No. You." It is the first compliment he has ever given you, and you carry it around for a month like a coin in your pocket. In September, you realize you have not filed an honest return in 14 months. You realize it while you are mowing the lawn. You finish mowing the lawn. Level 5. Level 5. The name. You start noticing what the name does. The restaurant on 5th has a 6-week wait. You give your surname on the phone, and they ask you what time a contractor is 4 months late on your neighbor's extension. You mention in passing at a barbecue that you know a guy. The work is finished in 11 days. Your son is born in April. There is a private room. You did not book a private room. Here is the thing about the name: you never use it. You never have to. Other people use it for you. And every time they do, the debt gets a little bigger, and the debt is never written down anywhere. You are 35, you have a house, a son, a wife, who still laughs at the same things, and a life that from a distance looks exactly like the life you wanted. At Sunday dinner, you are now 3 chairs from the door. Vito asks your opinion about a property on the waterfront. Not your professional opinion, your opinion. You give it 2 months later, they buy the property. You go home that night, and you sit in the car in your own driveway for 20 minutes with the engine off, because you understand something. You are not the accountant anymore. Accountants get fired. You cannot be fired from a family. You can only be removed. Inside the porch, light is on. Elena left it on for you. She always leaves it on level 6, level 6. The point of no return. It is a Thursday in February, and Nico is dead. In a car outside a bar in the north of the city. And it is on the news at 6. Elena screams in a way you have never heard a person scream. You drive to her father's house. The kitchen is full. Nobody is eating. Vito is standing at the counter with both hands flat on it, not moving. Her father is in the back room. He asks for you. Only you. He is sitting in an armchair that is too big for him now. He has aged 11 years and 9 hours. He tells you there are accounts. He tells you there are 3 of them, and that Nico was the only other person who knew. And now Nico does not know anything. He gives you the numbers on a piece of paper, he watches you read it, then he takes the paper back and he burns it in an ashtray on the side table, and neither of you says anything while it burns. This is the moment, not the shoebox, not the boiler, not the house. A man burning paper in an ashtray while his son is in a refrigerator across town, and you standing there memorizing numbers, because he asked you to. You could say no. That is the terrible part. You could absolutely say no. He would let you. He is a father who just lost a son, and if you said no tonight, he would nod and let you leave. And then you would be a man who said no in a family where nobody says no forever. You say the numbers back to him. He closes his eyes. At the funeral, you carry the coffin. You are on the front left, In every photograph from that day, in every newspaper, you are the tall one at the front with his face turned down. That photograph goes in a file in a building downtown. You will not learn this for another 2 years. Level 7. Level 7. The inner circle. You stop sleeping pearly in the spring, not nightmares. Nothing so dramatic. You just wake at 4 and lie there doing arithmetic in the dark. And by the time the arithmetic is finished, it is light. You are 40. You have a corner office with a view of the harbor and a receptionist named Grace who has worked for you for 6 years and knows nothing. The family calls you the professor. It started as a joke. It is not a joke anymore. When you speak at the table now, the shouting stops. You are 3 chairs from the head. Here is what nobody tells you about power in a thing like this. It does not feel like power, it feels like weight distribution. Every decision is a load you are holding so that it does not fall on someone else. And you are the only one who knows how heavy each piece is. You develop rules. You do not talk in cars. You do not talk in the kitchen. You do not use the word for anything. You use the shape of the word. You stop having friends outside. Not deliberately. It simply becomes exhausting to talk to someone for 2 hours about nothing. Your son is 6. He asks you what you do at work. You tell him you count things for people. He accepts this immediately the way children accept anything, and he goes back to his cartoon. And you sit on the arm of the sofa for a long time, watching the side of his face. Elena knows she has always known. In 15 years, you have never once had a conversation about it, and you never will. And that silence is the most intimate thing between you. One night she says, into the dark, "Do you regret the bookstore?" You say no. It is the only lie you have ever told her. Level 8, the knock. They do not knock, actually. That is a thing from films. What happens is that 2 people are standing beside your car in the parking garage at 6:40 in the evening, and one of them says good evening and uses your first name. They are polite. That is what you remember afterward. They are extraordinarily polite. They show you the photograph from the funeral. They show you 11 more. They have a photograph of you and Vito on a bench near the water from a Tuesday you barely remember. They say a number. The number is the sentence in years. The number is 19. They say your son will be 25, then they give you a card and they leave. And you sit in your car in the garage for 50 minutes, and you do not turn on the engine, and your hands are completely steady, which frightens you more than anything else that has happened in 15 years. Here is what you understand in that garage. There is no version of the next 5 years where you are still holding everything you are holding now. There is the version where you go away for 19 years. There is the version where you talk and your wife's father dies in a cell. There is the version where you say nothing and hope is not a plan. It is a mood. You drive home. The porch light is on. You eat dinner. Your son tells you about a boy at school who can do a backflip. You say that is impressive. You mean it. You are genuinely impressed. Some part of you is having a completely normal Tuesday. At 11, you go into the garage and you stand in the dark and you take the card out of your wallet and look at it. Then you put it back. You take 11 months to decide. Nobody in the family notices anything different about you in those 11 months. And you will never be sure whether that is because you were good or because they had already decided what you were going to do. Level 9. The ghost. The town has one main street and a hardware store, and a diner where they know what you drink. You are 52. Your name is not the name you were born with, and it is not the name you married into. It is a name a stranger chose from a list. You do bookkeeping for a landscaping company and 2 dentists, 12 hours a week. It is honest work. It is the honest work you had at 29, and it took you 23 years, and everything you had to get back to it. Elena is not here. She made her choice in a corridor in a federal building on a Thursday morning, and it was not a cruel choice. It was the only one available to her, and you have never once been angry about it. She could not testify against her own blood, and she could not live with a man who did. Your son writes twice a year, birthday and Christmas. The letters are short and careful, and he signs them with his full new name like a man filling in a form. He is 22. He is studying architecture. You know this because he mentioned it once in a Christmas letter in a single sentence. You keep the letters in a drawer with the tax returns. You mow the lawn on Saturdays. The neighbors think you are a quiet widower who moved here for the air. They are kind to you. One of them brings you tomatoes in August. You have no idea what to do with the tomatoes. Sometimes in the diner, a man will laugh at the next table, and it will sound close enough to Nico that your hand will stop halfway to the cup. Here is the last thing you did not lose everything at once. Nobody does. You lost it in favors of Shubo. XA boiler. A chair moved one place from the door. 23 years of very small yeses, each one of them completely reasonable at the time. You married a woman in a bookstore, that is all you ever meant to do.